Hey, it's TimesCark11, and today I'm showing you how I make my custom LEGO minifigure here. I'll be going over the material used and the process for it. To start with, there is the base materials that I have. These are the LEGO hair pieces that I use to put the custom hair over. The first is this one. This is most commonly used for female hair, usually longer hair such as Mithras, as an example. You can see all of the custom hair was put over that piece. This also used primarily for female hair. This is if I need something where the sides of their head is more covered than what this would have. This is for when the ear area is open on them. This is if the ears need to be covered. So an example of using that would be Uni, also from Xenoblade Chronicles. And then the last one, I do use occasionally other pieces if I need to, but these are the three that I generally use. Like Mio from Xenoblade, I used a different hair piece, for example, or Celica from Fire Emblem, those use different hair pieces. But most of the time, it's one of these three pieces. So this one is most commonly used for male hairstyles. So examples of that are Rudeus Greyrat and Dimitri. Doesn't want to focus on Dimitri. Also, I'll have a separate video going over how I make custom clothing parts like this cape, the jackets, or skirts and coats. It's a similar process to that. It's a similar process I use for that, but it would take too long to show them together, so I'll save that for another video. So that is the base pieces I use. Now onto what I use to actually make the custom parts of it. That is paper and tape. Usually I use a more clear glossy tape, but that one's too hard to move around because it's weighted, so I have this easy to move around one with me today. And the paper is usually a very thin, cheap paper towel because it's easier to work with than actual paper, like pieces of paper that you would have full size. So just rip off bits of paper towel. So then what I do, most of the time I'm using just the tape, but for when I do use the paper towel, it's usually for longer hairs like Mithras. When I do that, I'll just cut out the shape of it, the rough shape. So show an example of a hairstyle like Mithras with this. First I just cut it a bit more cleanly, then cut this in half. If I'm using a wider piece, I wouldn't need to cut it like that. I would just cut it in half from this way instead, which is usually easier, but for demonstration purposes, I just took that long strip. So then once I have pieces like this, then cut them a bit more to fit the shape of going on the hair base piece first. Then once I have those, I'll take some tape, cut off how much I need for that. stick it on the paper here like so, and then attach it on the back. Do the same for the other side. This is much harder to do on camera because of the position I have to be in to do this, so it's not going to come out as cleanly as if I'm making something real. Also, normally I will put a full piece of tape across the whole thing to stabilize it. Usually I'll only leave it without anything over it if I want it to be more flowy. So you can see this is the kind of base of what Mithra has there. Then after that, I would cut into this to make it more shaped correctly. And then for all the other parts of it, more shorter parts or thinner parts, like with Mithra's bangs, for example, or the entirety of most male hairstyles where I don't need the long paper on there, I will instead take just the tape. I'm not going to need this piece. Fold over the ends so that it won't stick to the head. This is normally easier to do when there's actually a minifigure head under the hair, but attach it like so onto the side and then just cut it to the correct shape. I'm not going to do that because I already have a bit of a mess here. And for male hairstyles where I don't need the long parts, then it'll just be entirely made out of tape like that. So you can see on Rudeus, all of these are just tape pieces. And then I'll usually layer it so that I have parts sticking up like that. So you can see here, if it would focus, it's layered on Rudeus where you've got one here, and then one coming up there. Same for Uni. Hers was made entirely with tape, except for the wings. That's a separate issue. Wings are made with the paper also, and basically any kind of headwear or something that would go on head accessories, those are made basically the same way, just taped on after being crafted with paper. So that's pretty much it for the process and materials used for making the custom minifigure hair. I'll have a tutorial at a later point on how I do the custom clothing parts. It's a very similar process using the same materials. If you watch to the end, then comment Blossom Dance down below. It helps with the algorithm. So see you next time.